Hello everybody and welcome to episode 11 in our Ratliff Mandolins weekly production video series. The main thrust of today's video, or this week's video actually, will be that we are going to install a K&K Internal Twin mandolin pickup in mandolin number 10, and I'm going to show you everything that we have to do to make that happen before we glue the back on. But first, episode number 10 showed me carving the scroll on one of the earlier mandolins. In fact, it was mandolin number 5, and I got 2 or 3 different comments on people wanting to ask about this particular tool, which is a homemade kind of scraper thing. In fact, I've got several of these and I'll lay them out. They're some sort of shaft spacer, some sort of industrial thing, and I have ground a couple of them a certain way, and I will show these to you, and I'll pull the mandolin here and show you why I've ground most of that way. Slip that right over the scroll button and get into that little corner right there, and then this of course either pulls this way or goes to the other side for the tops, because they're mirror images, of course. So there's that. That's the tool that we were using that a couple of folks had asked about. So let's go ahead and move on and install the pickup in this thing so that we can glue the back on. Okay, we have here mandolin number 10. We are going to install a K&K Internal Twin pickup in it. Now when you first open the box, you're overwhelmed by all of the little instructions, but don't let that scare you. Here's the pickup itself. It's really actually a relatively simple machine. It's a twin pickup. The 2 pickups are basically glued to the surface right next to the sound holes, and there'll be a hole drilled right here, and all these screw pieces and everything will tighten up and make the M-pin button and the pickup jack. So it's not really as hard as it seems. At first, what we need to do is drill a hole right here, exactly where the mandolin tailpiece itself is going to be, so that this thing will fit right in that tailpiece hole. Let's go in here in the other room and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now we have the mandolin in a holding jig, and here's the tailpiece that we're going to use on this mandolin. We're going to put it here and position it right over the center line and draw a circle. Now that's exactly where we want the input jack for the pickup to be, so that everything will come out of this hole. Now we're going to take an awl and mark the exact center of that hole, drill a pilot hole, and then continue to enlarge until we get to the final size that we desire. This pickup will actually be like this, and the tailpiece will be here, and everything will line up just perfect now. Okay, now we're ready to start putting this thing together. This pickup jack barrel has an adjustable nut here, and then it has a nut washer and end cap that goes on here on the outside. So this thing has to be fitted in here to whatever thickness this tail block is, so that the proper amount sticks out here. Well, that looks about right. We will tighten everything up with a couple of wrenches. And we'll put a drop of super glue on this inside nut and its threads because I'm a worrywart. And now we have to install the pickups themselves onto the mandolin top. And we have strips of very strong adhesive which we will use to stick the pickups to the top. The instructions recommend double the amount of tape, two pieces of tape per each pickup. So now we have double the amount of sticky tape on there. And as per the recommendations from K&K, the pickup makers, we put a little super glue on this. Put it where we want it and press down for 30 seconds. Repeat the process for the other side. And come with me into this section of the shop where I actually have an amplifier that very rarely gets used for anything else except to check these pickups out. And I don't know if you can hear that or not. Turn it up so you can hear it. And that pickup is working perfectly. So now we are ready to glue the back on this mandolin. Let's go do it. So, number 10 has now been brought up to the same stage of completion as have all the other mandolins in the batch, and let's examine what stage of completion we're actually in. The mandolins have all had their backs glued on, but everything is still rough, and I'll point out the things that need to be addressed before we can go much further. Number 1, the backs have been trimmed off with the flush trim router bit, but as you can see from this close-up right here, it's not really a flush trim. There's actually a little lip right there. So, and as you can see, there's also usually some leftover glue spill out from the binding on the top. So one of the jobs that has to be taken care of before we can go much further is to sand all of the sides down nice and smooth and flush, and I usually like to go at this stage of the game to about 100 grit. The second thing that needs to be taken care of on the F's anyway is this little area right here on the scroll button. You can tell where the flush trim router bit has come through, but at the same time you can also see where the overhang hasn't been taken off, and all that has to be cleaned up and brought down to the level of the inside of the button. Also right there you can see where the heel button is in basically horrible shape right now. It's way oversized and nothing seems to fit, so everything has to be trimmed down, and I have a little template where I try to make all of the heel buttons exactly the same, so All of that has to be taken care of before we can move much farther. And finally, you can see on the back right here this flattened area that has to be smooth, brought out, swooped up to actually meet this outside corner right here. Nice and pretty. That has to be taken care of as well. Now, given the fact that usually it takes a half an hour, 45 minutes to sand the sides down and clean them up, this usually takes a half an hour or 45 minutes. Sometimes the heel button can take an hour or so, and this little swoop up thing around here, it usually takes 45 minutes or an hour. So if you add all of that stuff up, times 11 mandolins, you can see that I've got a week's worth of work right there. So that's pretty much where we're going to spend the rest of the week. Thank you so very much for watching. Be sure and check out the bonus video, which will be video episode number 12. And be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. If you haven't done that already, we'd sure love to have you come back each and every week for this weekly production series. And you have a good day, and we'll see you in the future.